Welcome, everyone, to the Heart of the Artist. I'm your co host, Whisper Poet. We got my girl Catalyst here today, but she's having a little there she is. Yes, Catalyst. Hey, hey. You didn't get spotlighted on there. I don't know how to do that. Wait a minute. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I can't figure it out. That's not my forte. My forte is talking, and I am here to talk to our amazing guest, Red Medusa. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Whisper.
I am so
It's good to
excited
be
to
here.
see you here. You look absolutely gorgeous, and you're coming to us from the UK tonight, where it's 10 p.m. You're about to
Hmm.
head to bed because you've got big day tomorrow. So I thank you so much for being here to have this conversation with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I was looking forward to this interview. So yeah, let's
Fantastic.
crack on.
So I met you or came across you. We're just now meeting today for the first time, but I came across you as a result of being a part of the Tesoro group.
Hmm.
And so obviously you are a poet, but for those who might be watching this who don't know who you are and what you do, fill us in. Tell us a little bit about Red Medusa.
Oh, where would I start? So I've been writing poetry since I was about 8 years old. And I wrote poetry because I didn't want to speak. I found it easier to write. And if I did speak, I would speak to adults. But if I had to speak and communicate to others, it would be through poetry. Um, and that has been the case for years and years and years now. Poetry for me has been a means of expression. It's been a safe space for me to kind of vent. It's been a way of me speaking back to the world, and connecting with many other people. And I think that became more prominent for me during lockdown, when everybody was stuck indoors and there was no way to kind of stay in touch with your people physically, and lots of online events popped up. And I was able to meet the likes of Stacey, Jenny, Genevieve, all kinds of people. So I'd say that poetically kind of jumping onto the scene, and becoming more internationally known kind of came about after and during and after COVID. But prior to that, I've been writing poetry forever. It's just part of my blood. It's part of my being. It's my first language. Um, and I'm lucky enough to kind of know lots and lots of people who feel the same way about it. But in terms of who I am, you're probably going to have to be a bit more specific because that's a loaded question.
That's what we want to know.
Mm.
How did you feel when you started gaining some fame and people are, I'm sure, messaging you, coming up to you? How did that feel?
Um, it's not something I'm a stranger to. I had a really good modeling career before I came into prominence as a poet. I did music videos. I walked London Fashion Week. I featured in Vogue magazine. Um, I did my first music video when I was 16 years old, and was instantly recognized from that. So, um, the kind of being known thing isn't new to me. But I think what did come as a shock was the fact that my poetry is very cutting, and it's very visceral, and it's very fiery, and it holds people to account. And not everybody is able to handle that. Not everybody is ready for that kind of directness. But what I found was actually people really, really liked it and really resonated with it. And then I found other people who had sharp tongues like my own. Um, and as time went on, and I realized that actually this is something that people want, and people want to hear this stuff. I think that's what was the biggest shock for me, more than kind of being known and recognized. Um, it's nice to know that you have a tribe out there that view the world through a similar lens to yourself, you know?
Did people underrate you because of your participation in modeling and music? Were they surprised when you came out and were brilliant in your poetry?
Not the people that know me. The people that know me know that I'm about poetry and always have been. Um, I don't know if they underrated me as a model. I wouldn't know. And to be honest, I don't think I cared enough to try and find out because I've always been quite comfortable with whatever it is I'm doing. I kind of stand on that. So if they did, I never would have known, to be quite honest.
And you are brilliant.
Um,
You're a PhD candidate,
I am.
juggling motherhood and
Mhm.
work and all of these things.
Yeah.
How do you keep it together?
I think when you come from a background where, I mean, I was raised by really formidable women. My grandmother worked as a nurse. She came here when she was 18. She came by herself. She didn't come with a husband. She didn't come with a family. She left her firstborn back in Barbados and she came here to train as a nurse where she met my grandfather. And when my grandfather started taking liberties, she divorced him very, very quickly. Alongside that, my mum has never been one to mess about. So I've been raised by by women who don't mess about, and as a result, I've become one of those women.
I love the British habit of understatement. I find it so delightful,
Yeah.
because that's such a mild statement. They don't mess about. And, having a good friend who's British, I sort of have learned, these different British sayings, and that over here in the States would be like, she's a badass bitch.
I mean, yeah, yeah, I have my moments. I have my moments, and when I walk into a performance or I have to go into a school or I have to speak at a conference and I have to hold people to account or then she comes out. She comes out, but you have to keep her in the box sometimes because she can get a little bit out of hand. Um, but she's a weapon to be wielded as and when,
Can we invite her out to play and hear some words?
Sure. Yeah, of course you can.
Let's
Of
go.
course. When you're ready, let me know. I have my book here.
Yeah, let's rock and roll.
Yeah. All right. So I performed a piece, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I was at a private event, and they asked for fire, which I wasn't expecting. So I performed a piece called Them versus Us. I think Stacey loves this piece. Um, and I wrote it in response to the Roe versus Wade case being hashed out again. So for those that don't know, anti-abortion laws have been put in place that were removed some time ago in certain states. Would that be correct, Whisper?
Our federal right to reproductive rights has been compromised, deeply compromised, and it's something that is on the forefront, I think, of just about every woman in the
Yeah,
United States.
yeah, yeah. And for me, as somebody that has had terminations in the past, um, as a right, and as a form of protection for myself, it felt like an assault, and not just on me, but all of us. So them versus us is about that. Alive at a time where the right to govern my body has been snatched from me by powerful men in high places, men who have never seen my face, men who have never bore down to bear children, never tore, never bled, never breastfed, are never going to face death giving birth. These psychopaths who claim, rape, and destroy our Mother Earth now claim, rape, and force us into motherhood against our will. Millions of young children's futures will perish under the pretense of protecting lives that do not exist, justified by an archaic religious doctrine that legitimizes the making of our wombs into political and physical battlefields where they plow our flesh and plant their seeds against our will and force the growth and birth of lives as disposable as the cheap labor and clothes extracted from our sisters in the global south. Disposable because those that are forced to raise them will no doubt be poor, black, and brown. We are made to subsidize the state with the bodies it needs to continue its greedy capitalist policies. We are terrorized into providing an endless supply of lives to be sent to work in factories, to war, and to exist at the fringes of society, where a militarized police force plucks them from the streets and throws them into cells which feed bottomless private interests and converts the value of our flesh into paid employment and shiny new prisons, whilst incriminating the women who said no. They said no to forced birth. deepening poverty and male extortion. And for that, they will pay with their bodies or their freedom. Either way, they have fashioned for us a cage of our wombs, one we cannot escape from unless we are to rip our insides out. And by we, I'm not talking about wealthy conservative white women who can buy their way out of a country that refuses to put formula on the shelves of its stores for the babies we will be forced to bear. I'm not talking about right-wing civilizational therapists, feminists that claim to be on the side of all women whilst clambering for the scraps of blood-stained tables of patriarchal power. We does not mean we, it means us. The invisible, racialized, minoritized, sexualized women that clean your toilets, offices, stations, care for your aging bodies and dying relatives, feed and deliver food to neighborhoods we will never afford to live in, make and sell clothes we cannot afford to purchase. We who work in industries your husbands would never tell you that they invest in. We who raise your children for less than minimum wage while you pursue careers and dreams we dare not dream about now. We who are excluded from spaces where our bodily autonomy, race, and class are the topic of conversation. It is us who have been designated as the fleshy machinery and victims of deadly necropolitics, whose screams are heard in ghettos and backstreet abortion clinics. It is us who are forced to flood the care system with the children we never wanted. Our bodies will occupy morgues and mental asylums, marked forever as asylum seekers in our own lands, as we attempt to escape a precarious existence fashioned by heartless white male hands. We will bleed out. We will suffer, give birth, or beg to be sterilized in the rebirth of a fascist state where eugenics dictates who gets to live and who gets to die. And I sit here, looking hard at the face of my baby daughter, wondering what fucked up future awaits her. I sit with rage and tears flooding the brown of my eyes, sick to my stomach, almost out of hope, out of prayers, and out of peace, pleading with the powers that be. What will it take, if not this, to give us the reasons we need to resist? What will it take, if not this, to give us the reasons we need to resist? What will it take, if not this, to give us the reasons we need to resist? Thank you.
Wow. I mean, that started out fire and then you just hit another gear there at the end. What was the line about fleshy?
The fleshy machinery of necropolitics. So
Yes. Oh,
necropolitics
yes.
was a theory coined by Achille Mbembe, and he speaks about necro meaning death and politics. So the politics of death, who gets to decide whose lives are worth living and who become the living dead, the fringes, the people that exist upon the fringes of society and just serve to make up numbers at the bottom.
Absolutely. That was absolute fire. And I am so heartened by the fact that women the world over care about the reproductive rights of women in the United States, because ultimately that kind of the kind of thing that we're going through here, if it stands, it can spread across the world. Every woman
Yeah.
in the world needs to be aware and caring and
Well, I mean,
eloquent.
historically, Whisper, Black women have been the sites of medical experimentation when it comes to reproductive justice, reproductive medicine. Um, and even in the UK, when COVID was going down, women had access to abortion services from home. And the argument was, well, why didn't it exist the whole time? Why didn't you make it accessible in the first place? And then they sought to withdraw that access, but actually women weren't having it. So they've had to keep that in place. I mean, that could change at any time, as you know, but it's not just even about us who are privileged enough to have access to those. There are women in South America who still can't access abortion medicines unless, and the law stipulates, unless their child is in danger, their unborn child is in danger. It makes absolutely no sense. Luckily enough, we have activists there who are finding loopholes in like the diagnostic tools, like the forms that people have to fill in, who are able to educate these women on the fact that they are being raped, on the fact that they are being exploited, and actually their lives are in danger. So here you go, take the medicine, take what you need. But also in places less fortunate, like there's places all over the world, women are being raped in rice fields in India right now. Women are being raped in mines in the DRC. So this is, if we're going to be poets, then it has to be worth something. I can't, if I'm honest, and no offense to any poets out there that like to rap about or write about flowers and turtles and rabbits and all of that flowery shit. I'm here for it. Cool. We need the lightness, but I'm not here for that.
Well, I love what you said, and I think it's so true. And, look at the horrible thing that happened from that beautiful woman, the runner, the marathon runner whose boyfriend killed her. It's not a
Right.
far leap from controlling us through reproductive rights to outright abuse. The
Yeah.
bridge to between those two things is very short and narrow, and everyone
Mm-hmm.
in the world needs to be on that forefront. So thank you for leading that. Thank you for sharing that fire.
No problem. Audre Lorde says that poetry is not a luxury. She said that. And it's not a luxury to me. It's an absolute necessity, you know? So yeah, I think the more of that kind of energy there is, the better. Poets have always been the kind of left-leaning, the kind of, vagabond artists. We Gil Scott Heron's a really good example of that. He was like a heroin addict, but he put it to the man many, many times in his work. So yeah, we can't dishonor those that went before us by writing poems about daisies and stuff. I'm not doing it. Sorry.
So how do you manage to find time to write with everything that you have going on? Do you write every day, or how do you
No.
work that in? How is that woven into your daily fabric?
I write when the feeling takes me. There's a very specific feeling that comes for me. It's vibrational, it's a knowing. It's almost like you've got something brewing in your belly, in your chest. And then the moment comes and you can it just comes out. It just comes out. And that could be on the bus, that could be in the bath, that could be between, I don't know, writing essays or marking essays. Um, it could happen at any time. I was having a discussion actually on Facebook today where when I said, look, I love it when a poem emerges and I'm in the bath because a lot of my work comes out when I'm in the bath. And he said, I wake up with entire poems just ready. And I've had that happen to me before, but it just disappears. I don't know where they go. They just disappear. And I'm like, that was really good. And now I don't remember one word of it. so, so you kind of make time, and I think that's the beautiful thing about poetry is that it's accessible, it's free, it doesn't require much. If you're fortunate enough to have a phone, you can write it in a text message. If you've got a piece of paper or I don't know, the back of a bus ticket or something, you can scribble on that. Like there's always a way to access that. I think someone mentioned water there in the chats. I don't know what was said, but water is a really good conduit for energy, scientifically and energetically. So I think there's something to be said about the power of water in channeling and in writing.
Interesting. Catalyst said water helps with memory access. Well,
Mm.
if that's the case, I need to I need to walk around in a wetsuit full of water. Maybe I'll remember more.
Well, there's a shaman called Credo, not Credo Mutwa. Actually, it's the man that wrote of water and the spirit. I think I have a copy here, and I can't find it. But he says, our oldest prayers reside in the water. Yeah. And if you have a background like mine where our ancestors were systematically thrown into the water, then you'll understand that those genetics, that information, those memories are still there. And the water that's always been on the planet has always existed on the planet, right? So it's always accessible. So yeah, I think in terms of memory retention, water stores so much, and we're water. 90% water. So it just makes sense, right?
I love that. I'm gonna have to look that up too. Of Water and the Spirit.
Of Water in the Spirit. It's one of my favorite books. I've probably given it to someone because it's here it is. So Malidoma Some. Mm?
Oh,
So
fabulous.
he actually passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
Um, but he was a shaman who kind of just saw life from a completely different angle. But his relationship with water, he talks a lot about that in that book. Recommend everyone buy it and read it. It will change your life. It's one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read.
Wonderful. Do you loan your books?
No, no, no,
Yes,
no,
I
no,
love it.
no. You can come here, you can peruse, you can flick through the pages if you're lucky, but you're not taking my books. I've learned that lesson. I've had books that were banned in this country and that I've lent out and never seen again. So I have a collection of almost 600 books here. And I'm working to 1,000 so I can have an official library. Um, but no, I don't loan my books. I can send you illegal links to download some though, so hit me up.
I love it. I love it. So a thief breaks into your home and he steals your favorite piece of memorabilia. He steals your favorite book from your library, and he steals your favorite piece of lingerie.
He's already severely injured at
What
this point.
what what punishment is laid upon his head?
I have a wonderful Louisville slugger by my front door called Knock 'em Off. It's a baseball bat. Um, I have a really beautiful ornate dagger just over there. Um, and I have lots of pepper in my cupboard, which is really good for the eyes. Yeah.
Yes. Nice.
So, I mean, I don't think he'd get past the front door, to be honest. Uh, God help anyone that tries to steal my book. You can take my underwear. I don't give a damn. Take my underwear. Take my memorabilia. Don't ever come for my books.
Do
Don't
not
ever.
mess with the books.
Do not mess with the books.
I
No.
love it. I knew the minute that came out of my mouth that your answer was going to be an unequivocal no.
Yeah. I mean, he's welcome to steal one of my books, like this book, because it's awesome and it's mine. But nah,
Have
not the
you have
rest.
you noticed though that, like, think about all of your friends and who's a
Hmm.
writer and who isn't, and which of those friends will loan books and which ones won't. I think writers don't loan books and people who don't write do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I am yet to find I'm yet to find writers who are willing to part with literature unless it's their own.
Yeah, not doing it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But I think we desperately want to share our love of our favorite books. We want to tell you about them. We want you to see them. We want you
Yes,
to covet them, and we want you to have them too, just not from us.
just not our copy. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I've got a number of signed copies and little bits and bobs in here. So yeah, that's never gonna happen. I would have to die. And even then my children know, like, do what you like with my stuff. Keep the books. Do not give them to Oxfam. If you have to donate them to a black owned store somewhere, but do not just flitter them away. I've collected these over many, many, many years.
Well, knowing Stacey Dyson, there's going to be a Tesoro library where all of those things will end up. See, I see her nodding her head up there. I see you. I see what you're doing up there in that square, Stacey Dyson. What's your favorite food?
Oh man, that's so hard. My mom was a chef, so I've eaten loads of really good things, and I'm a big foodie. I think I can unashamedly eat fried plantain without stopping.
Oh,
Just cut it, fry it, straight in the mouth, burn the roof of your mouth, burn your tongue. I don't care. As long as it's ripe and it's sweet. Fry plantain has to be fry plantain. I've never ever tired of it. I've literally gone through two or three. Just I've got people that know me. Oh my God, watching this. But yeah, I can eat that for days. And if it's not that, has to be pizza. I love pizza. And if it's not that, and I take it right back to my roots, then it will have to be my grandmother's kuku and sea bass, which is essentially fufu and fish cooked in butter, okra, onions, peppers, carrots. It's lush. It will put you to bed in a second.
It
You know,
sounds
you
amazing. And I
it's
love
the
that.
most wonderful food.
Oh, and this is Barbados, right?
This
Barbados.
is Barbados.
It
Yeah, this is
is.
from Barbados. But I suspect the food comes from Ghana,
Mhm.
because my grandmother was with the Ghanaian man for many, many years. And he used to make his version, which was exactly the same as my grandmother's. So
Now,
yeah.
is the food that you grew up with inherently intensely spicy, or is it more of a moderate level of spicy?
No, it's spicy. We eat with pepper. One of my aunts in Barbados, like I think she was a great great aunt. She owned a pepper mill in Barbados, so it's kind of in the blood.
Yes.
Yeah, so I like pepper. I like pepper in everything. I'll put pepper in baked beans. You know we like baked beans in this country, right? We have beans on toast, beans and chips, beans and
Yes.
put beans with everything. But
With HP
I don't.
sauce, right? The HP sauce.
Yeah, but no, no,
No, I
no.
don't mean
I
you. I
draw
mean
the line at HP
Brits in
sauce.
general are all about some HP sauce, right?
I don't like that brown stuff. I don't understand what it's supposed to taste like. I can't make sense of it. But what I will do is I'll cut up some onions and I'll get some black pepper and I'll get a Scotch bonnet and I'll put it in some beans and some butter and stir that shit up and then it becomes seasoned.
Yeah. Now, Scotch bonnet. Now you're really
Edible.
talking some heat. You're talking some
Yeah.
steam units when we're going Scotch bonnet.
I love a Scotch bonnet. I love a Scotch bonnet in food. It's got its own flavor. It's not just heat for the sake of it.
Yeah, it's a citrus. There's a bit of it like a almost a citrusy flavor to
I
it.
would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm like definitely down for flying over for dinner. I can be there in, 12 hours or
When
so.
you're ready, just holler at me. I've got a lovely kitchen here. So
Oh, love it.
and I can cook. I don't like to, but I can.
Well, I don't
So
know how
just
you
let me
have
know.
time to with everything you've got going on. You
Yeah,
need someone else to cook some meals there.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. I've got someone in mind, but we'll see.
Okay,
We'll
I'll keep
see.
us posted on that. So you were talking about growing up near the Thames. Does I say that
Yeah.
correctly? The Thames, the Thames.
Yeah. Yeah.
So growing up, so what does one do? Do you fish or like what are you doing on the Thames?
So you're not fishing because you'd probably die of some sort of unknown disease if you ate anything. I mean, it is the foulest. It used to stink back in the day. It used
Oh
to
God.
stink like every summer. It would smell like raw sewage. So, um, yeah. So with the Thames, I think it looks better at night, right? Yes, things are feral in the Thames. You're right, Genevieve. You're not joking, man. You don't know what you're gonna find in there. Um, but I think the best time to be with the Thames is at night time because then you don't see all the crap in the water. But also the skyline is pretty nice in Greenwich. So the way the light hits the Thames, you go for a walk at the night, it's really stunning. But during the day, I like to if I do go by the Thames, I've been known to jump on my electric scooter, whiz down to what's called the Cutty Sark, which is like an old tea clipper and just have lunch there and then just go back to my home up the hill. So, yeah, people like to meet there, congregate there, people like to smoke there, people like to drink there. Um, but it's a nice space. It's a lot cleaner than it used to be.
Mhm.
But I just find it to be where I like to go to collect my thoughts, or if I'm particularly stressed out, I'll just go and sit there. I might knock my mum, drop the children off, and just go and sit on the bench and relax. And then I think we have the International Day of Remembrance for Slavery, which, if my memory serves me correctly, is the 22nd of June. And every year, what's been taking place is a ritual, a libation, where you pour water for your ancestors and you call them into the space and you say prayers for them and you recognize their sacrifices for you. And what takes place is there's a meeting at the Maritime Museum and there's drumming and then there's a procession down to the river's edge and then people like throw petals or offerings or whatever it is, and there'll be someone there like an Ayorisha or I don't know, you could call him a shaman or a witch woman, so many names for the same thing, right? Um, and they'll say prayers and sing songs and stuff. So I like to do that. I do that on my own sometimes. I'll go down with some sunflowers and put them into the water. I might honor Yemaya or Shun, and just because they look after me, they're Orisha. Um, so yeah, it has its purposes. It has lots of purposes, but as stinky as it is and as ugly as it is, it's my Thames and I love it. It's part of South London. I'm from South London, so you can't be from South London and you don't recognize the dirty Thames.
So if you weren't going to be exactly where you are now, where would you choose to be in the big world?
There's um there's a few places. I've always wanted to visit Tibet. Um, I've just felt called there from a really young age. I'm not really sure why. And Japan is another place that I'd like to go to. Um, I want to visit Nigeria because my ancestors were from Nigeria, and I want to visit Ghana because I've got family and friends that are there. I don't think if I was a traveler, I don't think I'd settle in any one place because the world's so big. There's so many things to see. And I like seeing stuff. I like adventures. I like new sights. I like new colors. I like new smells. I'm very sensual. So I'm into kind of feeling things and seeing things and enjoying different sensations and experiences. Um, I think my next stop, if I had my way, and if they make thick enough coats and clothes, because I'm not good with the cold. I hate the cold, but I really want to see the Northern Lights because they look spectacular. They look so good. I know I can see them in Scotland, but I think Greenland and Iceland are apparently the place to go to see them. So
So I have my own little deeply held desire to see the Northern Lights. And
yeah.
if you do a search on the internet for glass igloos in Finland, yes,
Oh my God.
like Kakschlocken or something. I can't speak it.
I wouldn't even attempt to say the word, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
And imagine sleeping underneath that.
yes,
Oh
yes.
my God.
Making
Yeah.
love to the love of your life in a glass
Woo!
igloo under the Northern Lights. What better
Just,
thing could there be
I
on?
mean, perfect. Perfect. With really good food.
Yes, and libations.
Right.
Maybe some rum from Barbados.
Mhm. I
Yes,
think me and you should go whisper.
I'm
You
down.
know,
Let's go. We're there.
when you mention rum, I mean, all right, you're talking business now. Let's go. We
Yes.
make the best rum, by the way. I just
Yeah,
thought I'd throw that out
I
there.
have had a tipple or two, and it is indeed absolutely lovely. It's
Thank you.
delicious.
It is. It is. Just like the people from the island.
My favorite way to have rum is neat with a little
Yeah.
bit of muddled lime and sugar, just a bit.
Ooh. Do
And
you have like one cube of ice? Because I just like one.
just yeah,
Just
just
one.
one cube, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
mash up the lime and the sugar. If we're gonna really go
Mm.
for it, let's add a little bit of mince too. But
Oh, girl.
oh, yes, it's delightful.
I mean, it's not too late over here, but I have no lime. And I've got rum in the fridge, but that's for the altar. That's for the ancestors. So I'll have to buy my own. But I'll remember that next time I encounter some lime and some Mount Gay rum and
Yes.
Might
Yes.
have to do that. That sounds
Gotta get your
good.
mortar and pestle and just, 'cause then you're
Mm,
getting that lime skin with the oils
mm,
and the sugar and
mm,
the, oh,
I need
it's
to come to where
alcohol and
you're
the
at.
rum sort of releases the oils and
Yes.
emulsifies. Oh, it's delicious.
Sounds
I
like
hear
you're a bit of a
you.
connoisseur over there.
I hear Nemo nodding in the background. His nod it's so loud I can hear it.
Oh, this is Levi. He says hi.
Hey. Oh,
Yeah,
hello, Levi. He's
yeah.
lovely. And how old is Levi?
He's 7. He's 7. He's the third baby.
So he's a young man. He's many,
He
many years
is.
left
He is,
to
but
go.
it's a pain in the backside because every time I have one of these events, you're lucky you didn't get his butt in the camera because that's normally what happens with him. This time you got his face, so thank you, Levi, for that.
Does he sleep with you? Does he get to sleep in the bed?
No, no.
No
Mm-mm.
kitties.
But I wake up and he's there. If I wake up, he'll be there, but I don't encourage him in my bed because no.
How does he awaken you if he needs something and he's very insistent about it? What does he like to
He
do?
scratches my carpet, Whisper. He scratches the carpet in my room and he knows it drives me insane because I like everything orderly and nice. And
Mhm.
he does this and I could be dead in the sleep and he'll do that and wake me up and then I have to let him outside or whatever. But yeah, he's persistent.
I truly believe that every cat takes the measure of their owner and finds that one thing that will push your button
Hmm.
to your absolute limit of patience and sanity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because they want to go do whatever they want to do, and
Yeah.
they're going to push, and they'll sit there and look at you while they do it. Push
Yeah.
the button.
Yeah. He's lucky he's still here, actually, because he's scratched the corner of my lovely sofa.
Mm.
He's torn my desk chair, which happens to be a beautiful forest green, and now he's on my carpet. So it's definitely love. Otherwise, he'd have had like a flying lesson over the second balcony by now, and and he's still here. so so it's
My
love.
my cat this morning woke me up by jumping onto a chest of drawers that I have in my room, and there are some pieces of crystal on it that were they belonged to my great grandmother.
Wow.
My cat jumped up there and was walking around, and I read her the absolute riot act. I said, "So help me, if you get up there and you damage that crystal, you will be slippers."
Yeah. Yeah. But they don't care. So none of that matters to them. And I think that's the allure with them is that they're very independent. They do what they like within certain boundaries and they cross those boundaries often. But you can't hate them for it. I love that rebelliousness of cats. Dogs, they're all right, but they're very docile and they take orders and I don't relate to that. So
They're always going to cede authority to the leader of the pack.
exactly,
Whereas cats
exactly.
are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Thumb their
yeah.
nose, thumb
Hmm.
thumb their nose. So, do your kids carry on the poetry tradition of mom?
Yeah, my children are very creative. My son likes to paint. He's very, very gifted at painting. And my daughter likes to play with words. In fact, today I picked her up from school and the teacher said, she's very advanced. She's very, very good with language and words. And I said, well, she hails from a wordsmith and an academic, so it's kind of just built in. It's just there. Um, but I was saying to them before I before I came on, they were like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Babes, I've got this interview to do." So, why are you doing it so late? Because it's not 10 o'clock where they're at, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And they were like, well, where are they? And I said, they're in the States. And they said, you've got interviews in the States? What are you doing? And why is that? And I was like, I don't think you know who your mum is. I think this is the problem that my son's name is a 30. I said, you don't know who I am. You just take it for granted that I'm your mum and I teach and I do all of this stuff, but actually you don't really understand the levels, you know? So they know that mom's a creative, they know that mom's an academic, they know that I'm XYZ. But I don't think they take it that seriously,
Well, that's going to
which
be
is
fun.
good. It's humbling, you know, it keeps you grounded.
But that's going to be fun for them when they find out that mom is oh, what was the phrase that you said earlier that I said she's a badass bitch? What was your phrase?
Yes, I don't remember. I'm not having it. I don't know, something like that.
Not having it. That's right. Mom's not
Not
having it.
having it. Um, yeah, I mean, my boy came across one of my old modeling portfolios the other day,
Yeah.
and my daughter saw the pictures, and she was like, "Mummy, is that you?" And I was like, "Yes, that's me." And when did you take these pictures? And wow, when did you do that? And I was like, "You weren't even born when I was living that life. That's another life. Like that was mum from another time." Um, but they'll understand one day, and I think, and I'm kind of happy it's that way because when I'm older and I'm no longer maybe able to communicate or remember some of the stories or that sort of thing, there's so much documented about my life, my achievements, that they can kind of lean into and take energy from and take inspiration from
Mhm.
and draw from. And to me, that's the whole point. I mean, when you ask me how I keep going, it's by force. It's by force. I have two children and I'm not going to be around forever. And I need to make sure that I leave a legacy for them that they are proud of and one that opens doors for them long after I'm gone. One that opens doors for their grandchildren and their great grandchildren. That's impact, and that's what I want to make while I'm here. And so that's why, even though it gets a bit on top sometimes, and I get a bit frustrated, and I get tired, and I get weary, and I get fed up, um, I look at them and I'm like, stopping is not an option because it's not me that I'm letting down, it's them. And I believe anyone that knows me knows that I'm really in tune and really dedicated to honoring my ancestors and honoring what they did so I could be here.
Mhm.
But to be a good ancestor, you have to be a good human being, right? So for me, do the right thing now, build the legacy now, and then I'll be a better ancestor when that time comes.
I love that. I love that view.
Mm,
What were you like when you were doing modeling and you were in the music videos? Because I have to think that you already had social justice themes running through your mind.
yeah.
What was that like to be focused on that? And because I have to think others around you were sort of immersed in the hedonism of the moment, just having fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's surreal because a lot of my girlfriends at that time were, using drugs, being quite promiscuous, understanding that opportunity came to them or was offered to them if they were willing to sacrifice elements of who they are. Um, because there are men that will only open doors if women will grant them sexual favors. And actually, we tend to look at that from the opposite perspective, oh, she's willing to sleep her way to the top. Well, no, actually, men gatekeep these spaces. And for many women, the only way to get into those spaces is to give their bodies away, right? Um, and that's not new. That's been going on for a very long time. Um, so yeah, it was surreal. It. I'm lucky because I grew up seeing many of my friends go down that path. I saw where it led, so I was never tempted to follow. And I think those experiences kept me safe in many ways.
Mhm.
But I've always understood that modeling was a means to an end. It was never ever gonna be the end. And I don't think poetry will be the end for me either. It's just one of the things that I do very well. Um, but in that environment, you have to have a really good knowledge of who you are. And I didn't have it all together back then, but I did. I've always had a very strong set of principles with regards to what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do in any situation. And that's been consistent with me forever. So yeah, it wasn't difficult to avoid those pitfalls when you see everyone falling off, falling by the wayside. And yeah, social justice is what kind of ended my modeling career.
Okay, this is a
So
story.
I mean,
I hear the story.
um, ended might be a hard word because I still do the occasional bits and pieces here and there, but um, no, I went to a student protest in 2010, and the reason why was because we had the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats had formed a coalition, and prior to forming that coalition, they actually said that they wouldn't triple student fees were at the time, I think they were 3 grand a year. And they tripled them as soon as they got into power to 9 grand, right? And the following year, thank you, Levi. There it was. Uh, the following year, the following year I was planning to go and study law because one of the things that I'd always wanted to do was study law, become a barrister. Yeah. And I thought, actually, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and study law. And then they tripled the fees. And I was like, actually, this kind of takes the piss because people that are working class will not have access to that kind of money every year, right? So even though I knew I could get a student loan, even though I knew that there were means available, I was like, this takes the biscuit. So I went to my first protest. I'd never been to a protest before. And as a result, I was kettled in. It probably didn't help that I had a balaclava. Uh, but yeah, I was kettled in, and my boyfriend at the time, after many, many hours, he came down to check on me because I think it was the middle of October and it was snowing and people were getting really, really ill, really ill. Like remember this one woman in a wheelchair was in a really bad way and the police were not letting her out of this kettle for love nor money. And if you're not familiar with what kettling is, it's basically when the police surround you and just don't let you out.
Okay.
So my boyfriend at the time was stood behind the police line and I was in the kettle and we were trying to talk and then this officer, a woman, pushed him and pushed him again. And I was like, okay, let's move because down here there's a lot of ruckus going on. Obviously, this woman's got a problem. Let's move away from the drama so we don't get caught up. So we moved down the line. We moved actually quite far because it was quieter where we went and I could hear what he was saying to me. But she followed us down the line and then she pushed him again. And I was raised in a very pro-black environment. My mom was very, very unapologetic about letting me know who I was, what happens to us, what happens to us today. So I've always had that awareness. So I knew that she was trying to provoke him and I knew she was trying to get a rise out of him. And I have a very protective nature. Um, and then she turned around and she pushed me and the scorpion came out. She came out of the box and I completely lost it. I lost it and I went for her. I don't actually remember laying hands on her. That may have happened. I don't recall. I was extremely pissed off. But the next thing I know, a big officer had wrapped his arm around my neck and dragged me midair into the back of a van somewhere. Went to Bond Street police station. They kept me in there for a while, and then I was let out. And then the following day, the Daily Mail and the Daily Express and the Metro newspaper had my face plastered on it. And my mum found out I'd been arrested when she was on her way to work and she'd opened the newspaper up. And that was my big face.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, mum.
Now,
Mum, your daughter's a
you're
criminal.
a model, so I'm assuming you're tall. How tall are you?
I'm 5'9.5".
Okay, so you're fairly tall. So you're there and this thing, you're wearing the balaclava and things happen and you just clobber this woman who has provoked the two of you. So I would
Yeah.
imagine that that was a bit of a force to be reckoned with in that moment.
Yeah. I think it was described, I think the headline was pregnant model, which was incorrect because I fell pregnant the following year, bunch of arseholes. Pregnant model attacks police officer in a flurry of fists was the headline.
Flurry of
Um, and interestingly enough, that was in Piccadilly Circus, which is well surveilled. Like there's cameras all over the place, right? But when I said, if you check the cameras, you'll see that actually this woman was coming for us. The camera footage went all keys. And then the officers that actually witnessed the thing on the day of the court case were on holiday. And
yeah.
so I watched Sergeant Joanne O'Connor. I remember you, bitch.
Let's go.
I watched her lie on the stand about what happened. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I know the police are the police, right? I know the beast. I know exactly who we're dealing with. But I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. I was like, this is this woman really, is she really doing this, right? And then at the end of the case, the judge says to me, Miss Ford, is there anything you would like to add before I sentence you or whatever the hell it was he said? And I said to him, before this happened, I was going to go and study law. But now I've just watched a bunch of corrupt officers lie on the stand, and I can categorically say that I never, ever, ever want to join this institution. I said, the bunch of you are all corrupt. I said it, I said it with my chest. And I'm surprised I didn't get thrown in jail and locked up. But because I weren't messing around, not messing around, right? So I was given a £800 fine. I had to pay victim. Imagine I had to pay victim fees to the police officer, and obviously a criminal record for 11 years, which subsequently impacted my plans to become a physiotherapist later on. But I mean, the universe has a funny way of working, right? Now my background is in public health. I lecture in a Russell Group uni on global health and anthropology. I'm doing a PhD looking at the role of poetry in helping Black women to navigate their mental health during the lockdown. I am a LIST DTP PhD funded student, which is one of the most prestigious funding bodies in Europe, actually. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people applied for this funding, and I applied first time and got it first time. So, sometimes our journeys are diverted and we find ourselves exactly where we're supposed to be, even if the means in getting there haven't been pleasant. Yeah. It tends to work out in the end.
Well, maybe thanks are owed to Joanne O'Connor.
I'm still gonna put her in a jar though. I mean, I've got a number.
She's probably already there herself. She's probably sitting there having beans and HP sauce. So you know what? Let her go on with it.
For real, Whisper. I hear you.
All right, what's in that delightful looking glass that you have?
Water.
Oh, it's
just water. It's just got a colored bottom. That's all. It's just
okay.
Water.
I was like, what's in there?
Water before bedtime, so you don't wake up dying of thirst, right?
There you go. Oh my gosh. See, you just said the thing. I don't know if you follow the TikTok thing. There's a thing on TikTok where it's 3 a.m. I'm dehydrated. And these girls make this mishmash of stuff in a big bowl. Have you seen this?
No, I don't even have TikTok. I think TikTok is a time thief. It's called TikTok for a reason.
Oh, it is. It is a time thief, but God, it's amusing. These girls at 3 a.m. take a big bowl and they put in ice cubes and all kinds of cut up fruit. And then they add strawberry milk and, and Sprite, which is, like the lemon lime soda.
Why?
Because it's 3 a.m. and they're dehydrated and they're eating this fruit that's soaking in the Sprite and strawberry milk. It looks hideous.
It sounds hideous. It sounds like death. Uh,
When you said about, drink some water before you go to bed so you don't wake up thirsty, and that just that jumped me to
yeah.
strawberry
Oh
milk and
God.
Sprite.
The
So
world has
deeply
gone
refreshing.
mad. The
So
world
deeply
has.
refreshing. All right, I think I know Stacy says that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. And
That is
not
rank,
wrong.
man. That is taking things too
You're
far.
not wrong,
Too
Stacy.
far. Ugh.
All right, so we need some more poetry. We need to feed before bedtime.
Okay. Well, I was just flicking through the book and trying to figure out what one I can share because there I think this one has I only put 10 in here. Um and interestingly I normally open up with a poem called Egun, which is a word that describe it's just the word for ancestors, but I think we're past that now. So hmm, I think I'm gonna perform Asterisk because
Ooh.
it's still one of my favorite pieces. So I'm gonna perform Asterisk, yeah. All right. Mm, okay. I am not an asterisk, an afterthought, something other that's a little bit different. A blank space on your form where my black is not the norm. I do not represent the spaces between B, A, M, and E, an ethnicity with no name. I am not an asterisk. I am not a, by the way, or a covert way to say that I do not fit into your prescribed divisive European ideals of false supremacy. I am not an outlier. I am not outside of anything. If anything, I am the all in everything. I am that which you say does not exist. I am not an asterisk. I am not the acceptably light black woman you employ to prove that your organization is not racist. An embodied get out clause to meet the quota. I am not your equal opportunities promoter. I am not your poster girl for how much you say you help the poor or the blacks or the browns. I am not your one black friend. I am not your office clown. I am not your foot in the door to black culture. My presence does not give you permission to speak to me in patois. I cannot be summed up in biro, in a boring white box ticked. I am not black other. I am not mixed other. I am the sum of my ancestral mothers. I am the strength of all of my brothers, but I am not an asterisk. Thank you.
Let's go. Yes. And I love that line. If anything, I am the all in everything.
That's it. That's it. When you know who you are, no one can chat any kind of nonsense to you, and I think you get to a point, well, some of us are lucky enough to get to a point to understand that everything that's in the universe is in us. Absolutely everything. So you can't then disconnect yourself from that. If you're going to be powerful, then you claim that and you pull in on it and you draw from it and it works for you because you acknowledge its existence. So that's what that line means.
As within, so without. As above, so
That's
below.
right. As above, so below. Exactly. The Hierophant, right?
Do you do any divination? Do you do tarot or anything?
Yeah, I've studied the tarot for 31 years. Um, I'm a lot I'm a lot older than I look. Uh, yeah, again, I was raised by a woman who was never afraid to deal with, the other energies and um other planes of existence. So tarot was one of the first things that I learned as a child. Um, and it features it's I don't read so much for people anymore because I don't have the time.
Mhm.
And my prices are really high because I'm actually very gifted at it. But um, yeah, I deal with that. I have an abundance of crystals. They live in the plant pots dotted around the house. Um, I have an altar that I go to every morning. I say my prayers. I offer they like rum. My ancestors like rum, so I give them rum. I put water on there because it's a conduit for spirit. I burn my incense, and my altar faces the sunrise. So as it comes up, I'm usually right there with it. Maybe not the last few days, but but I get up and the first thing I do is altar, candles, prayers, and that's how I kick my day off. But the other thing that's really kind of present in my life is dreams. I dream a hell of a lot,
Hmm.
excuse me, and I see a lot of things in my dreams. Um, and and I'm very intuitive, so I'm quite sensitive. And I think, excuse me, the water. Um, I think what we call ADHD, it's a label and it helps make sense of things, but actually I think I'm just highly, highly sensitive to what's going on around me, whether it's what's on my skin, whether it's a particular type of light. So I have to take the blue light off my phone because it gives me really bad headaches.
Hmm.
Um, Certain smells, certain sounds. I'm just very sensitive, but that also extends to how I feel around certain people, how I feel in certain places. If I'm around someone that's got a malevolent energy, I'll pick up on it straight away, and I'll remove myself. Or if I see them doing some shit, I'll call them out because oftentimes those energies aren't used to being called out. So yeah, I think spirituality, divination, dream work, altar work, that's just a part of who I am. It's not People say it's supernatural, but to me it's just natural. It's just part of my day to day. Nothing super about it. It's pretty cool, but when it's your normal, it's your normal.
So, shungite. You need a piece of shungite. If you're not
Mm,
familiar with that crystal, it's amazing. It was discovered in, I want to say, 1996, and the person who discovered it received a Nobel Prize. It blocks electromagnetic energy.
yeah,
And
thank
so
you,
that's
Levi.
great for keeping you safe from your phone or
Yeah,
anything
you
else to
have it
get through you.
positioned around laptops and electronical devices. And I also find that succulent plants are really good for that.
Oh,
Yeah, so
interesting.
shungite's great.
We know
Hematite,
about the
black
shungite.
hematite, black tourmaline is really good for that.
Yep.
But also those kind of water abundant plants that just exist on nothing. Probably why I have so many of them and they're alive in my house.
I love it.
Uh, but
Succulents.
yeah, they're really, really good at absorbing certain things. Levi, you're gonna knock the laptop down, babes.
Wonderful. Succulents. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, yeah.
Always
But
good.
thank you.
Always good
Yeah,
to share the witchy knowledge. It's great.
absolutely, absolutely.
All right. So we are on right on an hour, I think, and I know
Yeah,
that it's late over there for you. Could we have one more poem before we finish
sure.
out?
Sure. I'm gonna do my favorite poem to close with, and it's called These Hands.
Yeah.
And it's a poem for women and those that identify as women and those that carry that kind of energy. And I wrote it to honor the women who have um, elevated me and continue to lift me up um, throughout, basically through life. I hope it's in this book. I've got so many poems, so I have it here. And yeah, this poem I wrote with people like Stacey in mind. So during COVID, it was women that kind of kept me going, right? And I was in a very hostile situation in my home with my then partner. And I just found that there seemed to be an abundance of women around who would regularly speak life into me and regularly feed me. And, Stacey was always there. It could be any time of the day, right? And this woman would be like, "Hey, girl, you okay? Do you want to talk?" She was just a source of immense strength for me. But herself and loads of other women inspired this poem. So I'll read this and then we'll part ways. I have opened my eyes to find myself face down in the dirt many times. Unable to summon the strength to pick myself up, not even the gods could have raised me from the dead. In fact, they had left me there to rot. There have been times when my mouth could not open, sound could not escape. My cries for help were silent screams echoing in the darkness. My body had married the mud it lay in and waited to be digested and absorbed back into the womb of the earth. But right before my soul submitted to the calls of my angels and the joy of my demons, hands held my wrists, neck, waist, back, and feet, lifting me out of the grave I had dug for myself and propelling me into the warmth of a midday sun. Warmth which warmed those hands, wiped my eyes, cleared my vision so I could see my path ahead. They placed me in healing waters, removing life's heavy debris with salt and flame, making my spirit balanced and whole again. They presented me to the four winds, reminding me that to feel was to live. And once I was dry and breathing again, naked and reborn, these hands draped me in white cloth, clothed me in crystals and gems, and the wisdom of sages, an inheritance left to me in the libraries of the ancients. I was being put together again, made whole and fed with knowledge. These hands placed swords in my palms and taught me to fight against the world that sought to leave me in that mud. They gave me back my voice, fixed my crown, weaved gold thread into my locks to remind me of my connection to the divine and to every hand that reached out and placed their hands in mine. These hands, which had saved my life over and over and over again, were the hands of sisters, daughters, aunts and cousins, maidens, mothers, and crones. They are hands that belong to artists and warriors, survivors and diviners, magicians, musicians, healers and dealers. They are queens and witches, femmes and bitches, queers and whores, white and black, whole and cracked, strangers, neighbors, and friends. They are the daughters of Mother Earth, and they were the hands of women. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, babe.
What an absolutely beautiful piece to reflect
Thank
upon
you.
how we lift each other as women.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that was stunning. Thank you. I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
that you chose to share that one.
Yeah, I think it's important considering the majority of us, I think, in the room are women, but also, or women identifying, but also I found that we've only really got us. And for me, that's been the truth for a very long time. And it's why my research focuses on my women, the women that I hail from. Because when I look around and when shit really hits the fan, it's women doing the work. It's us keeping each other up. Despite having a million and one burdens upon each of our backs, we somehow are able to kind of reach out to each other and be each other's strength, you know, and be each other's fortitude and advisors and doctors and childminders. You know, I've got a friend who's got 4 children and she's just offered to take my children every other week. And I'm like, sis, like this is what we do for each other. And it would be remiss of me not to honor the women, right? Like when I think about what my people went through and continue to go through, were it not for women persevering and surviving and insisting on an existence, you know, I wouldn't be here. My mum wouldn't be here, my grandma wouldn't be here, my daughter wouldn't be here, my son wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here. None of us would be here, right? So we have to honor that. It's really, really important.
Absolutely. Truer words never spoken.
Thank you for having me, Mister. I'm sorry. I
Reza,
didn't mean
you
to.
are a treasure. You are a treasure. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that we got to connect and have this time. And thank you for doing it so late. I know you like got a lot going on tomorrow.
Yeah,
But you have shared some really, really important words and some important thoughts. And I hope everyone will take heed of what you've shared. It's
thank
good
you.
stuff. It's heavy stuff. That's what we need.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's not, I mean, there's so much to be thankful for. And I say that all the time, there really is, but there's also a lot of work to do, and even if it's just one step forward that we manage to make in our lifetimes, it's one less step that those who come after us have to take. It's one less brick to lay down. So yeah, it's a privilege to be able to do this work, to be fair. It really is.
Please take a moment to tell everyone where they can find you, where they can connect with you, where they can see your work.
Sure. So I'm really rubbish at this. I've never been good at this kind of self-promoting stuff. But you can find my book on Amazon. It's called Breathing Water, and it's by me, Red Medusa. On socials, I'm Red Medusa. You look me up, you'll know it's me. There aren't any others. It's just me. And I would say, maybe just keep your eyes peeled, because I think once this research is published, once it comes out, once I'm Dr. Red, then I think the moves will probably be bigger and they will amount to more. And I would like to do more collaborative work with women like yourself, the women that have showed up today. Ultimately, it's about connecting and collaborating. So going forward, it won't be so much about self-promotion, but more how we can bring each other up, as we spoke about earlier. And that's kind of why I'm here. Tesoro is very much about women supporting women, women poets supporting women poets. So ideally, I'd like to carry that forward and make that more established over here in the UK. But for now, read my book, buy it. It's really good. And I'm looking to hopefully publish a book of love poetry next year. And that's kind of, yeah, that's in the wings. I'm a big romantic, so something like that is gonna come out at some point, but I have to prioritize the PhD for now.
Yes, absolutely. And every single step that you take is a step taken for everyone. Um,
Absolutely,
every advance
absolutely.
that one woman makes is another woman right there with her. It reflects well on all of us. It does good for all of us. So yeah, keep
Well,
after it. Keep
the
after it.
research it's never been done in the UK. It's never, we've got some wonderful women in the States that have looked at this work and how we use poetry as women to navigate mental health and stuff. But it's a groundbreaking project, and it's the first of its kind in the history of the United Kingdom. So we
Exciting.
will have something to build on over here, which is hopefully what I plan to leave as part of my legacy.
Is very exciting. I can't wait to hear more.
Well, I'll keep you updated for sure, and then maybe when I've graduated, we'll come back again and discuss the findings and the ins and outs and kind of really get stuck into what's going on.
Absolutely. All right, guys, you've heard it. Red Medusa, tap in, breathing water on Amazon. Buy her book and keep watching her because she is fire.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate you. Thank you for everyone that showed up. Stay soon. I soon come, man. Not kick me down just yet. Me soon come. Um, but thank you for everyone who joined us, and thank you for having me on the show, Whisper. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for the Heart of the Artist. Just another fantastic, amazing woman on the show. It makes my heart full. It feeds my spirit. Thank you for doing that. And
Thank you.
we will talk more another time about rum and Northern Lights and all the good stuff.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Ah, thank you all. Peace,
Thank
love,
you.
and
Thank you.
poetry.
Cheers.
Until next time. Bye bye.
Take care.